It's been a few days since we've made progress on this. I've been a little under the weather. Speaking of weather, it is lightning outside. Super cool. Okay, and then let's get this going. All right. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm Amanda with M.A.K.E Nevada and M.A.K.E Alaska, and we are working our way through Northwestern University's free online course for nonprofits. And we have already, oops, let me fix this. We have already done governance fundamentals, your role, board structure, and now we're going to work on fundraising. And at some point, when I update the description, I will put the link to this course. So if you'd like to go through it yourself, you can. It's free. And I'll also put the link for this on M.A.K.E Alaska, because this version is a lot clearer and easier to follow than this version. All right. Fundraising. 5 videos. Let's make notes so we can keep track. Okay, you can see me. Here we go. 5 videos. Objective. Identify the role that philanthropy plays in the nonprofit sector. Understand the role individual board members play in supporting fundraising initiatives of the organization. Understanding philanthropy in the nonprofit sector. You know those certain words you just can't spit out? Gain insights into Giving USA data about philanthropy in the United States and why it's important for board members to be aware of these trends to help optimize a fundraising focus. I already mentioned on the live stream, but I'll let you know that I am under the weather. That's why my voice sounds the way that it does. But let's keep making progress. Speaking of that. All right. This one is applied thinking. As you watch the video, consider the following. What are the key sources of private philanthropy for the nonprofit organizations you are involved with? Research other organizations of interest to you to see what their philanthropy is like and how it compares to your organization's. Let's put it on 1.25. And here we go.
I'm Lindsay Marcinak, Managing Director at CCS Fundraising. In my work as a fundraising consultant, I have the great privilege of working alongside board members of our client partners. As a board member, it's important to be aware of the role that philanthropy plays in the nonprofit sector. Looking at national trends in philanthropy can help to identify opportunities and optimize a fundraising focus. Giving USA is the primary source for measuring these trends, and the Giving USA report comes out on an annual basis. The most recent report in 2023 shows that total giving in the United States reached $557 billion. This represents the largest giving amount to date in current dollars. However, when adjusting for inflation, total giving actually declined by 2.1% from 2022. Nonetheless, charitable giving remains resilient. Giving today is higher than pre-COVID pandemic giving in 2019. Also, charitable giving.
In case you're not aware, corporations can donate. So for example, Costco, instead of just throwing away certain things, they can donate those things, and then that's a write-off for them. So there's unique ways that organizations can donate, and that's a tax benefit for them.
Tends to experience fewer swings than other economic factors like the stock market. Giving USA measures giving from different sources. In 2023, giving from individuals, foundations, corporations, and bequests all exceeded 2019 pre pandemic giving levels. Individuals are undoubtedly the largest source of philanthropic giving in the United States. Individual giving accounted for 67% of all giving in 2023. When accounting for giving by bequests, individual giving actually increases to 75% of all giving. An emerging national trend in individual giving is best
Oh, careful.
summarized by dollars up, donors down, meaning that the size of individual gifts is increasing while the total number of individual donors is decreasing. Giving from foundations accounts for 19% of all philanthropic giving in 2023. Foundation giving continues at a rapid pace of growth. This is driven largely by the growth of family foundations and donor advised funds. We'll speak more about donor advised funds in a moment. Corporate giving made up 7% of all philanthropic giving, thanks to a robust macroeconomic environment in 2023. Despite common perceptions, corporate giving is not a major source of philanthropic giving nationally. Corporate giving generally hovers between 4% and 8% of all giving.
That's a lot less than I thought it would be. A lot less. So here's a little fun tidbit. If you shop at, so in the Northwest, it's Fred Meyer. Woo, woo, I love Fred Meyer. Then in other parts of the country, it might be called Smith's or Kroger. I think Kroger is the name of the parent company. And if you go on their website, the list of their companies is large. And for any of those companies, make sure that you download their app. And someday, I'm gonna make a note of this. Someday I'll do a demo, and you can go into the app, and there's a certain area that you go into to select the nonprofit that you want your pennies to go to when you shop. So right now I have mine set for a nonprofit in Las Vegas called Community Cat Angels, and I love them. So they focus on street cats, feral cats, abandoned cats. Las Vegas has about 200,000 cats living on the streets, and it's a hard, brutal, awful life for them. And so this nonprofit focuses on those cats. And you have to make sure that you check in because sometimes it'll like knock it off. So I'll go in and it will be unselected. So like every 6 months, just make sure that whenever you shop, it's like it rounds up the dollars. I'm sorry, the pennies to the next dollar, and it's I mean it's not like a ton of money, but when you work at a nonprofit and you get the quarterly check for that, it just makes you smile knowing that people are thinking of you, and all they had to do is just select something in an app.
Next, let's explore trends of giving to the different nonprofit sectors. Religion remains the largest recipient sector of philanthropic giving, though total giving to religion continues to decline and it actually reached its lowest on record in 2023. Human services is the second largest sector for philanthropic support, and education rounds out the third largest sector. In 2023,
I'm so surprised that animals aren't in the top three, but I mean, I would have thought that animals over education, but I guess I'm biased.
9 of the 10 major nonprofit sectors experienced philanthropic growth. Of these 9, 5 sectors reached their all time high in 2023. These 5 sectors are human services, education, health, arts and culture, and environment and animals. So,
Yay!
what do all of these trends mean for philanthropy in each organization? First, donor retention remains crucial, especially as the number of individual donors slowly declines. Acquiring new donors is very important, and it requires an investment of time and money. In fact, an organization's best potential donors are its current donors. National retention rates average 46% of retaining donors from one year to the next. This rate grows to 60% if donors give over multiple consecutive years. In particular, monthly giving is an important tool for retaining donors. And in fact, monthly donors give more on average than one time donors. Understanding how and why donors give is a critical way to optimize fundraising. For example,
I'm going to say they give when they know that there is value and they see results and they know that their money is not being wasted.
online giving continues to be an important way to raise awareness and funds. The Blackbaud Institute reports that 12% of all giving came through online platforms in 2022. Though mobile devices are a popular way of visiting websites and interacting with social media, giving from desktops and laptops accounts for 78% of all online gifts and giving revenue. Donor advised funds, or DAFs for short, have gained significant popularity among individual donors in recent years, thanks to their flexibility, tax benefits, and opportunities for donors to give more strategically. In 2022, DAF giving reached a record high of $85.5 billion. The National Philanthropic Trust estimates there are now 2 million donor advised funds in the United States. Understanding if and how a donor uses a DAF is an important point to explore when thinking about fundraising. Additionally, planned giving is an important and growing way to give and to leave a legacy. The most common and growing expression of planned giving is through bequests, leaving a portion of one's estate funds to a nonprofit in one's will. Bequest giving is an opportunity for people of all ages. The average age of creating a will is trending in the mid-50s. Giving motivations also differ by generations, and it's important to understand the philanthropic priorities of each donor. The great wealth transfer means that billions of dollars will shift to younger generations who may have their own distinct giving priorities. Millennials and Gen Z donors, for example, are motivated to get more involved with organizations beyond giving a gift alone. Lastly, as we look at all of the different philanthropic trends, board engagement is paramount for the success of an organization's fundraising program. Board members each have an important role to play, and these roles can be different for each board member. Leading by example in your own giving, networking, storytelling, and advocacy is so important. Thanks for all that you do in your community.
You're welcome. Okay, now let's go back to fundraising and go to the next video. How nonprofits raise money. Learn about many strategies nonprofits use to raise money from individual donors and how board members can support these strategies. As you watch the video, consider the following. Which of the individual fundraising strategies mentioned in the video are you familiar with? Who can you talk with to understand which strategies have been prioritized by the nonprofit organizations you are involved with? As a board member, how can you most effectively share your network or strengthen the tie between current donors and the organization?
Hello, my name is Laura Kaufman, and I'm president and founder of Partners in Effective Philanthropy. This presentation focuses on the many strategies nonprofits use to raise money from individual donors and how board members can support these strategies. Let's start by understanding the full marketplace for nonprofit revenue and the place individual donors play in this marketplace. In 2019, U.S. nonprofits raised revenue from the following sources. The vast majority, almost 81%, came from a combination of government and earned revenue. Earned program income represented 49% of revenue, while government contracts represented 31.8%. The remaining 19% came from what we refer to as private revenue, a combination of individual gifts, foundation and corporate support, and other types of giving, including United Way and federated giving. Of this private revenue, individual donors represented 8.7%, foundations 2.9%, bequests 1.5%, corporations 0.9%, and other types of income 5.2%. Within private revenue generation, individual donors have played an outsized role over the past 50 years and more. In 2023, $557.1 billion was raised by U.S. nonprofits. Of that, 67% came from individuals, Another 8% came from individuals who left provisions in their estates, bringing total individual donations to 75% of every private dollar given. 19% came from foundations, and 7% came from corporations. Of course, these figures are based on all nonprofits. Some nonprofits may get no or minimal government funding. Others may raise their funds primarily from foundations, and still others may be heavy on support from individual donors. Many nonprofits consider raising individual donations a key fundraising priority, since these donations usually come with the fewest restrictions and can be the most likely to recur year upon year. So, how do nonprofits who enjoy support from individuals raise this money? Different organizations use different strategies, but many use some combination of the following approaches: fundraising galas and other events, an annual campaign which focuses on donor solicitation throughout the year and may include email campaigns, Giving Tuesday, direct mail requests, and face-to-face asks with.
If you're not familiar with Giving Tuesday, that is the Tuesday after Black Friday, after Thanksgiving, and that's a big one. Yep.
Individual key donors or groups of donors. Some organizations will run special campaigns, for instance, if they need to build a new building or add on to a building, or if they need to grow their endowment. And finally, if they have a big anniversary coming up, some organizations will run a special anniversary campaign. Legacy giving is the final way that many use to raise money. This is also called planned giving, and it usually involves a gift from the donor's estate. Successful fundraising organizations try to get individuals to move from the more casual and less regular gifts, such as buying an event ticket or spontaneous gift on Giving Tuesday, to longer-term relationships with the nonprofit. Longer-term donors might give monthly or might make multi-year pledges, and the longest-term donors will end up leaving something in their estate. Now, you may be wondering how board members can help to leverage individual gifts. First, they can open their networks and share them with the organization. This can involve introducing friends and colleagues to key organizational staff, bringing friends and colleagues to organizational events or fundraisers, hosting a house party, sending organizational fundraising pieces to a board member's own networks, sharing the organization's social media content with your own social media channels. And second, board members can strengthen the tie between the organization's current donors and the organization. They can do so by helping to thank loyal organizational donors, provide longtime donors with testimonials regarding the important work of the organization, offering to answer donors' questions about the organization, or creating their own social media posts about why the organization's work matters to them. And finally, and most importantly, board members can make their own individual gift to an organization at an amount that is significant for that board member. Thank you so much.
All right, going back to fundraising. Now we're on the third video. The board's role in fundraising. Gain exposure to ideas on how you should expect to participate in fundraising as a board member, including financial solicitations, non-monetary donations, and setting fundraising goals. As you watch the video, consider the following. Consider the ideas presented in the video for how board members should expect to be involved in fundraising. Which roles will come easiest to you? Which will be the most difficult? Based on your responses to the questions above, talk with your board chair about how you can get more involved in fundraising and what steps you might take. I find event planning, like a Halloween, fall, autumn type event, or a spring, Easter type event, I think those things are super fun. What would be difficult for me is grants, because I have never applied for those. I don't know how to do those. I was more of the party planner for the nonprofit that I worked with. And I started to learn about other things, but I did not get into grants. So someday I will look up a grant course. All right, here we go. This lady, we're gonna put her on 1.5. Ms. Howard.
Howard, Executive Director of the Kellogg School Center for Nonprofit Management and a clinical professor at the Kellogg School. I'm going to share several ideas about how you should expect to participate in the fundraising activities of the nonprofit.
I just realized who she looks like. She looks like Sybil Shepherd. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Sybil Shepherd. That's who it is.
Board you are on or will join. I spent the early part of my career as a fundraiser and have worked with numerous boards. I am currently a board member of several organizations of various sizes. Engaging in fundraising is a great opportunity for board members to help support their organizations and help them meet their missions more effectively. Philanthropy is often a significant part of the revenue stream of a nonprofit organization, and depending on the size of the organization, board members may have different fundraising expectations. Often we hear that board members should bring their time, talent, and treasure, or work, weight, wealth, and wisdom. Whatever alliterative phrase you would like to use, I would suggest there are a few key expectations for all board members, no matter what size your organization is. First and foremost, financially support the organization. Board members' financial gifts are an important source of philanthropy, but more, they indicate the commitment and support that the board, as the leadership of the organization, is willing to share. It's hard for organizations to solicit other gifts from individuals, corporations, or foundations if their closest supporters are not making gifts. Some organizations will ask all board members for the same specific amount of money. While this may be expedient and create a perception of equality, in my opinion, this is an inequitable decision. In an era where nonprofits are trying to create boards that reflect the communities they serve and include multiple voices, the conversation about board giving is a critical piece of creating an inclusive board where all perspectives and gifts are valued.
So, to further on that, that way your board can be diverse and it can have people who are from the wealthy upper class, upper middle class, lower middle class, working class, and even, possibly people who are, I don't know what you'd say, low class doesn't sound like the right term, so if you know the better term for that, poverty class, I don't know, but I think a board should have people from all different socioeconomic stratas so that they are in touch with all of the population.
Ideally, rather than a set amount for all, board members would have the opportunity to make a gift that is philanthropically significant to them, and organizations would focus on gaining 100% participation from the board. Philanthropically significant means that board gifts would vary based on the financial situation of each board member, allowing for a diverse pool of board members to all contribute at their own level. While this is my ideal, that is not necessarily how all boards look at board giving today. So, prior to joining a board, you want to ask about the giving expectation and determine if the level they are requesting will fit in your budget. If this board is a fit for you, you should feel comfortable being honest with the organizational leadership about your circumstances and your financial capacity. Ideally, it will be a dialogue about all that you bring to the board, your time, your talent, and your network. But you should definitely be prepared to make some financial contribution to the nonprofit. The second expectation I want to share is that you will invite others to share their gifts, particularly financial gifts. Some organizations may refer to this as a give-get policy, where board members are asked not only to give, but also to get gifts. Board members would be expected to engage their network in support of the nonprofit. That may mean inviting friends to a fundraising event, talking to the community relations team or the foundation at your company about a gift, soliciting local businesses that you patronize for their support. There are many ways for you to get gifts. Here are a few that I have used. Use my social media posts to promote events or ask for birthday donations, and include a link to your nonprofit in your post that celebrates their activities. I've created a specific post on Giving Tuesday. You could launch an email campaign to your network on your organization's Giving Day, or really any day that you feel is significant. I've invited friends, you can invite friends to buy tickets to an event the nonprofit is hosting, or buy tables if their company may be willing to sponsor. You can also gather a group of your friends as a giving circle to support your nonprofit with a collective gift. The most effective way of raising money is when you sit down with a friend, a colleague, or other prospective donor and ask for a gift. This is usually where I get some pushback. Wait, you mean you want me to ask my friends for money? Yes, that's what I mean. Direct solicitations from board members is by far the most effective way to raise money for a nonprofit. And those gifts do not have to be huge. Nonprofit organizations need donors at all levels, $25 up to thousands, even millions of dollars. You can be a part of that success. Three things to remember. One, you are not asking for yourself, but for the mission of the nonprofit. Two, asking for a specific amount or range of gift helps get a yes. Three, the worst they can say is no. And that no might mean not now, not for that, not that amount. So really, you are opening a door for the organization with that individual. So far,
Hi.
we have focused on the financial giving and getting part of board fundraising. There are other ways that board members support the fundraising initiatives of the
Yeah.
organization. They support and ask for gifts that
Yeah.
are not financial, advice or expertise from knowledgeable individuals, volunteer time for special projects, in kind gifts like computers
Hi.
or winter coats, pro bono services, raffle or auction prizes, event space, the list goes on and on. These are all an essential part of fundraising for a nonprofit. Another expectation for board members related to fundraising is to help set annual goals. Each year, the organization needs to set fundraising goals. If the organization has an executive director or CEO or a development director, often those staff leaders will drive that process. In smaller, community based organizations, this task often falls to the board. Key to the goal setting, in either case, is to be strategic about the goals. Fundraising goals should not be set by simply saying expenses equal X, revenue equals Y, so expenses are bigger than revenue, so we need to raise Z. Boards and development committees, where they exist, should think strategically about where their current philanthropy comes from and what they can expect in the next year. That would include individual giving, corporate and foundation giving, and board giving. Whatever increase is recommended should be backed by data and why that amount was chosen and what are the steps to reaching that goal. Thinking about retaining your existing donors should be at the top of the goal list, as they are already part of your family. Benchmarks should be set and reviewed at each board meeting to hold the board and staff accountable for progress toward those goals. Engagement in fundraising is an important part of the board's responsibilities and a key way that board members help sustain and grow their organizations. You should ask good questions up front about those expectations and make sure you are ready to commit. Once you do, you can make a big difference for your nonprofit.
All right. Going back to fundraising. And then we have the fourth video. Considering your role in fundraising. Think about how you can best match your talents to the fundraising needs of your organization by considering four unique roles you can play as a board member in the fundraising process. As you watch the video, consider the following. Review the roles described in the video: connector, storyteller, visionary, closer. Consider where your talents align most closely with the roles described and determine what next steps could help you increase your engagement with the fundraising of your organization. I'm making a note here. Sales skills and psychology of sales, I think, are really important. I am not an expert. I'm adjacent. I am connected to people like my husband who are experts in marketing and whatnot. So I could be wrong about this, but I think it's like um, an advertisement of some sort has to be in front of people 7 times before they really register it. And I think the same can be for soliciting donations. So there's a nonprofit in Oregon, in Astoria, Oregon, that rescues and rehabilitates wild birds, wild seabirds, I think specifically. And they, on a regular basis, at least once a year or twice a year, they'll mail me an envelope that is self-addressed, self-stamped, and give me. Sometimes it's like simple. Sometimes it's this nice printout, letting me know what's been going on, and I really appreciate it. And it reminds me about how That consistency is what you have to do because it keeps it in people's brains. Do. Okay, 1.25. Maybe we'll go faster. We'll see. Brenda Acere. Let's see how fast she talks. I like fast. I don't like to listen to slow.
I'm Brenda Asari, President and CEO of Alfred Group, a national consulting firm committed to empowering nonprofit organizations to make their mission more possible. Today, we will dive into the world of board member effective engagement and fundraising. When it comes to fundraising, I know that each of you as board members brings your own unique comfort levels and experiences to the table. A recent survey of board leaders showed that fundraising and community engagement are often areas where board members feel the least confident. Some of you may have a wealth of experience if you're ready to dive into fundraising. Others might feel a bit hesitant, and that's completely understandable.
Excuse me.
The key is to openly discuss these feelings and understand where each of you stands. You don't all need to be expert fundraisers. What's important is identifying your individual skills and interests and aligning them with specific fundraising roles. By matching your talents with the right opportunities, you can play a vital role in helping your organization take its relationship and fundraising efforts to the next level. Think of fundraising as a collaborative ecosystem where each of you plays a crucial role. Here are four key roles where you can make a real impact. The connector. Board members with extensive networks make valuable introductions to potential donors. For example, a well-respected board member can host a dinner with potential donors, leveraging their credibility and social network to inspire giving. The storyteller. Board members can bring the organization's impact to life by sharing stories of how it touches and transforms lives. Imagine a board member who is a doctor volunteering at a free medical clinic, sharing a patient's success story with a potential donor. This personal touch can be incredibly powerful. The visionary. Board members can speak to the organization's impact, direction, and future goals, using statistics and data to paint a compelling picture. During a major donor meeting, a board member with a background in finance can discuss how your organization is strategically using donations to maximize impact in the lives of families and children in the community. Board members comfortable with solicitations invite peers to join them in philanthropically supporting the organization they care about. These board members talk about their why and what led them to making meaningful gifts to their nonprofit. They enjoy being around the table with staff and advancing the philanthropic value proposition with potential donors and inviting them to make a transformational gift or even their first gift. Every role is important, valuable, and interconnected, contributing to a thriving culture of philanthropy. As a board member, ask yourself how you can be the best fundraising partner for your nonprofit and share your role with your CEO, development staff, and fellow board members. By embracing your unique role, seeking the necessary training, and leveraging your skills, you can truly become a driving force in your nonprofit's fundraising efforts.
All right, now we have the last video. Hi, Smooshy. You're so cute. Oh, the smooshy booshy. The smooshy booty. Yeah, you're the cutest kitty in the whole world. I'm biased. All right. The 990, the tax form every nonprofit board member should know. Learn how the IRS 990 tax form can provide prospective board members with helpful information prior to joining a board and how current board members should review the 990 before it is filed annually. Applied thinking. As you watch the video, consider the following. Go online and find the 990 for a nonprofit organization you are involved with. Follow along with the video to review the 990. Locate 990s for two other organizations you support or are interested in. What similarities and differences do you notice? I'm not going to do that right now, but um, I have looked up a 990 of a local large nonprofit that deals with. Um, I don't want to be specific. And anyways, I was shocked at how, and this is for a lot of really large nonprofits. Um, you'd be surprised how you should just go and look yourself. Go and look for yourself and do your own research. And when I say large, I mean like national level. Um, at what percentage goes towards the cause versus goes towards salaries and whatnot. It'll really make you think twice about whether or not you want to donate to them. Okay.
Hi, I'm Liz Howard, the Executive Director of Kellogg's Center for Nonprofit Management and a clinical faculty member at Kellogg. Though nonprofit organizations are tax exempt and often provide tax deductions to their donors, if they are based in the United States, they are still required to file a U.S. tax form called the 990. The 990 provides a transparent overview of the organization's financial health, governance, and operational practices. It includes significant financial details as well as a listing of board members and key staff with their salaries. Board leadership is required to sign the 990 annually to agree that the information is accurate and truthful. As a prospective board member, the 990 can provide you with great insights on the financial position. And if you look at several years of 990s, you can spot trends in the financial success of the organization, or the lack thereof. It is useful to you to explore this information along with financial data the organization shares with you prior to joining the board to ensure that you understand where the money comes from and where it goes. Reviewing the 990 can help to ensure that your values and goals align with the organization's mission and impact. As a current board member, you should be reviewing the information on the 990 and asking any questions you may have. In an ideal world, the whole board would review the 990 before it is filed. In practice, however, it is often the Finance Committee or Executive Committee that does this review. The following video by Professor Emeritus Don Hyder shares highlights and insights about the 990 form and the value it provides to donors and other stakeholders. It is much more than a government form, and board members should pay close attention to what is shared through it. Enjoy hearing Professor Hyder's perspective.
I'm Don Hyder. I'm a faculty member at the Kellogg Graduate School of Management, Northwestern University, where I taught for more than 40 years, much of that in the area of not-for-profit management. I'm going to talk about the IRS Form 990, Return of Tax-Exempt Organizations. I'm going to talk about what is a 990, who files a 990, when they file it, why do we have a 990, what information can be found in the 990, what critical information is disclosed in the 990, who uses the 990, and then some takeaways and general references that might be useful to you as you have your opportunity to review a 990. The 990 is required by federal tax law. It is required to be filed with the IRS by some, but not all, not-for-profit organizations that are exempt from an income tax. About a third of those organizations exempted file a 990. Many are excluded because they are church-related religious organizations under our First Amendment that are excluded from filing under this, but many of those also file. Who files a 990? Not-for-profit organizations with receipts, revenues that are in excess of $100,000 or total assets greater than $250,000 file the 990. Not-for-profit charitable organizations with lesser receipts or assets file the shorter form, which is a 990EZ. Why do we require a 990 to be filed? We have been filing the 990s going back to the early 1940s. They increasingly, over time, provide more information. They are designed to help the IRS and regulators, and increasingly that is state regulators, where not-for-profits are incorporated, to ensure that the organization is true to its charitable purposes for which it was given the tax exemption in the first place, and that private persons are not using the organization to...
Because nonprofits are rife with scandal. So we need to scrutinize them and make sure that they're doing what they should do. Like I said, look up a national nonprofit, go look at their uh, taxes from 2024 and look at how much is actually going towards the cause and how much is going towards salaries with people making, $250,000 or more a year.
enrich themselves for private gain. What key information can you find on the 990s? Well, the 990s provides information on the mission of the organization, its governance, its programs, compensation of its highest employees, how it's financed, and whether it's a going concern and it's sustainable or not. Briefly, I'll give you some of the summary parts of it. Page 1 of the 990, or part 1, is a summary of the entire document. That tells you the mission of the organization, for which the organization was created, because not-for-profit charitable organizations are mission-driven organizations. Their activities, there's a section on the revenues, a section on the expenditures, and then revenue less expenditures and what net assets they have at the end. It gives you a good indication of the last 2 years of the organization's financial viability. It has part 2 of it, which requires the signers to attest to the fact that the information that is provided on the 990 is accurate and reliable to the best of their knowledge. This is important because the 990 gives an organization a chance to tell the public about themselves and what it does. So it's probably the most important document you're going to be reading about a not-for-profit or any organization. Part 3 of the 990 tells you about the program and service accomplishments, what it does, who it impacts, what measurements it's using. Part 6 deals with the governance, who are the board of directors, what are the policies that govern the governance of the organization, and are they following best practices or not. Part 8 deals with revenue, types of revenue, and the dollars amount, and how that has changed over time. Part 9 deals with the expenses that are categorized by how much is spent on the program or services for which the organization is created, how much is spent for administration or overhead, and then how much is spent for fundraising activities.
I'm trying to click off so you can, right here, lobbying. I'm not sure if you can see that, lobbying. That's very interesting. Years ago, I worked for a guy who was a caterer, and he had an annual event that he catered, and it was just me and him, just the two of us. And it was at this mansion in Bel Air, California. And wow, let's just say that the owner, the man, he had photos of himself with like every president, and he had a vineyard. This is in Bel Air. It's basically next to like Beverly Hills, right? It's not up in the wine country, but he had a vineyard that went up his backyard. He had a tennis court, a pool, a decorative pool, uh, a wine cellar that was like a wine cave. Like it looked like a cigar lounge. I mean, I could go on and on and on about this property, and I wasn't quite sure what this event was. And then what it was is it was these lobbyists who were coming to get donations from these rich people who were coming to the event, because they were wanting to, at that time in California was going to be doing a tax on like SUVs, um, and they wanted to lobby to not have the tax. So all these rich people who drove these big old SUVs and whatnot, and Hummers and whatever, they were giving their money to these people to make sure that that tax didn't get passed. That event blew my mind. Just the fact that the guy had pictures of himself with presidents, Republican and Democrat, didn't matter who they were. So I have no idea who that dude was, but he was obviously very important.
We want to know what the expenses of the organization are and how they have changed over time. Part 10, critical one, the balance sheet, the asset classes of the not-for-profit. As we know, there are 3 asset classes. Those that are unrestricted can be used for any purpose. Those that are temporarily restricted, such as a grant, that can be used for the period or the explicit purpose for which the grant was given. And then those that are totally restricted, such as an endowment. Accomplishments, increasingly this is important. What metrics or performance indicators do they use to talk about what they have accomplished or what they have done with this organization? Balance sheet provides a statement of the finances of the organization. Is a key indicator of assets less liabilities. What's the net worth of the organization? How much of a going concern is the organization? Let me turn next to who uses the 990s. There are a wide variety of users. I won't go through each of them, but first of all, the users are the board itself of the organization, certainly the regulators of the organization, the employees of the organization, there are the funders of the organization, individual donors, grant-giving corporations and foundations. There are the media themselves that want to know more about the organization. There are academics that do research in the not-for-profits. There are professional associations. There are all kinds of comparisons that are made about not-for-profits, comparability. So there are multiple users that each of them have their own specific use. And finally, they're the watchdogs of the not-for-profit organizations that have grown in size and scope over the years that follow these 990s. Let me give you a couple takeaways that you might want to take from this experience of thinking about not-for-profits and their 990s. First of all, a 990 is a snapshot in time. It gives 1 to 2 years of information. So it's not a tell-all of all the organization. If you want to look at the organization, you should look at it at 3 to 5 years of its financials over time, just not a simple snapshot, which may not tell you a lot about the organization or where it's going or its condition. Second of all, organizations differ by size, by age, by life cycles in terms of the period in which they've operated in the charitable sector, and by program types. So this adds to complexity of comparisons when you try to use 990s to compare one organization to the next. Financial disclosures can be incomplete. For example, fundraising costs are usually underestimated or not fully reported by a number of not-for-profit organizations. No one ratio or metric defines the financial condition of a not-for-profits. Okay, and so that's important when you look at these that use a combination of it. GuideStar, for example, uses a number of different ratios and trends and metrics when it does its in-depth analysis of 3 to 5 years of not-for-profit organizations. I suggest if you want to know more about the 990, you go to the IRS yourself, and you can find out what the requirements, conditions, and how that 990 has changed over time. GuideStar has the most complete database on not-for-profits over time, charitable organizations. It can give you 5-year trends, basic charts, graphs, and give you a financial dashboard to look at the not-for-profits. The 990s can be your most reliable friend and your most helpful friend in learning about the not-for-profit charitable sector.
I like that dude. He reminded me of a he reminded me of of a movie star like Ed Harris or whatnot. Like he was a general, or an astronaut or an old sheriff or something. So that was all 5 videos for fundraising. Thanks for tolerating me as I'm under the weather, and I hope you learned something. Have a great day. And I hope you have a great day too. Bye bye.